Peace. It's Promise Child once again, and you already know today is Black Leaders Past, Present, and Future Series Part 4. And today we're going to be talking about the great one, the marvelous one. This is a great brother, and I gotta give him this introduction. Today we are talking about Marcus Garvey. Let's get right into it, man. Marcus Garvey founded and led the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, usually rendered the UNIA, the largest mass movement in African American history. The UNIA flourished from about 1919 to the mid-1920s and existed in almost 40 states domestically and over 40 countries internationally. Estimates of its memberships range from 1 to 11 million worldwide, making the UNIA also the largest Pan-African movement of all time. Marcus Moselle Garvey was born on August 17, 1887 at St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica, to Marcus and Sarah Garvey. He had one surviving sibling, a sister named Indiana. His father was a stonemason with a love for reading in the library in his home. His parents sometimes engaged in small-scale peasant farming. It is difficult to surpass the eloquence of Garvey's own account of his beginnings and influence. He said the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey. My father was a man of brilliant intellect and dashing courage. He was unafraid of consequences. He took human chances in the course of life, as most bold men do, and he fell at the close of his career. He once had a fortune. He died poor. My mother was a sober and a Christian, too soft and good for the time in which she lived. She was the direct opposite of my father. Garvey received an excellent elementary education by Lieu, which is Lieu, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, of secondary schooling. He was apprenticed in his early teens to his godfather's printing business. At the age of 16, he moved to Jamaica capital of Kingston, where he became the country's youngest four-man printer. He became active in politics, public speaking, and journalism. In 1910, Garvey immigrated to Costa Rica, part of a large exodus of Caribbean workers seeking work in Latin America. He wandered for the next 4 years around Central and South America and Europe. He observed the plight of African descendants everywhere, agitated on their behalf, and worked at a variety of jobs. In England, he worked for the foremost Pan-African journal of the day, the Africa Times and Oriental Review, published by the African Deuce Muhammad Ali. In London, he also attended law lectures at Birkbeck College of the University of London. His travels and reading exposed Garvey to the universal suffering of the African race. Africa itself was in the last stages of European imperialist conquest. African Americans had largely lost the civil rights gained during Reconstruction. Jim Crow and lynching had become their lot. Africans in the Caribbean were mostly excluded from the political process and suffered the myriad discriminations associated with colonial status. Caribbean immigrants in Latin America were treated badly, even wantonly killed. Garvey pondered all of this as he prepared to leave England for home. He feared that a weak and prostrate African race was a standing invitation to re-enslavement or extinction. Towards the end of his European sojourn, he had been reduced to penury in England and had come close to being repatriated as a pauper at public expense. But by the summer of 1914, Garvey was able to pay his own way home. Before leaving, he read Booker T. Washington's autobiography, Up From Slavery. He admired Washington for his race pride and above all for his efforts to pull himself and his race up by their bootstraps. For Garvey, Washington's book became the final key to unraveling the puzzle of his own life work. Garvey later recalled in his Philosophy and Opinions in a famous and much quoted passage, I read Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington, and then my doom, if I may so call it, of being a race leader dawned upon me in London after I had traveled through almost half of Europe. I asked, where is the black man's government? Where is his king and his kingdom? Where is his president, his country, and his ambassador, and his army, his navy, his man of big affairs? I could not find them. And I declare I will help to make them. You understand what I'm saying? Listen to what this brother said. And this is the things that we still say today. You know what I'm saying? Where's the black man's government? Where's his king? Where's his kingdom? Where's his president? Where's his country? Where's his ambassador? Where's his army, his navy, his man of big affairs? He said, I cannot find them. And then I declare I will help to make them. And that's what we got to do. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I feel like my calling is. That's what we need as a race. You understand? My young and ambitious mind led me into flights of great imagination. I saw before me then, even as I do now, a new world of black men. Not peons, serfs, dogs, and slaves, but a nation of sturdy, sturdy man, making their impression upon civilization and causing a new light to dawn upon the human race. What Garvey lacked in money and influence, he made up for in the intensity of his dream. He felt that the power of organization led to African advancement, and so within 5 days of arriving home on July 15, 1914, he founded the UNIA. Garvey corresponded with Booker T. Washington and led the UNIA on a round of social, charitable, and educational work throughout Jamaica. The organization's stated goals included provision of educational facilities, upgrading the status of women, providing for the needy, building African power, and establishing a sense within the race worldwide. On March 23, 1916, Marcus Garvey arrived in New York to begin a 5-month fundraising lecture tour to finance his Jamaican operation. He will return to Jamaica to live more than 11 years later. In the interim, he will become the best known, most loved, and most hated African in the world. Soon after his arrival in New York, Garvey toured the United States and Canada. Back in Harlem, 1917, he took to the streets with crowds on a regular basis. As his popularity as a street speaker grew, he had a hall for weekly indoor meetings. By 1918, Garvey moved to the UNIA from Jamaica to Harlem. The Harlem-based UNIA now took off into a period of explosive growth. Garvey's travels had yielded him valuable contacts, and movement became instantly international. By 1919, branches had been established or merged in the making in Canada, the Caribbean, and Central and South America, West Africa, and England. Garvey moved the new organization with great skill. A variety of subsidiaries and related ventures appeared. A Negro Factories Corporation appeared in 1918 and eventually employed over 1,000 African Americans in a dough factory. A tolerant establishment, grocery stores, restaurants, printery, and more. The Negro World Weekly, so to become the most widely circulated African newspaper in the world, began publication in 1918. The UNIA's most ambitious economic venture, the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, launched its first ship in 1919. The line raised over $1 million, and the ships sailed to Haiti, Cuba, Jamaica, Costa Rica, and elsewhere. Its intention was to provide employment for African American seamen, dignified accommodation for African travelers, and a vehicle for Pan-African trade and immigration. Come on now, listen to what this brother was doing now. Listen to what this brother was doing. And this is what we need to do. We need to get our own ships. Back in the day, it's people printing papers and things like that. Nowadays, we need to have our own newspapers, our own social media, all that. This is what this brother was doing. Listen, this is why this brother is so great. Look at the things that he's pulling together, the organization, the things that he was doing. You understand what I'm saying? The line was sabotaged by opportunities within and forces including governmental, without, all compounded by the UNIA's lack of business experience and the rapid growth with the company, which almost overwhelmed the organizers. The Black Star Line nonetheless caught the imagination of African people around the world like nothing else. There were scenes of great rejoicing wherever the ships appeared. In Costa Rica, African workers stopped work for the day, and the Black Star Line ship with flowers and fruit. In Havana, Cuba, People rowed out the ship in small boats and literally showered it with fruits and flowers in Aiken, South Carolina. The African community chartered a special train to take them to Charleston to see a Black Star Line vessel. In 1920, the UNIA held the first of several international conventions, the last being in Toronto, Canada in 1938. 25,000 people from around the African world filled New York Madison Square Garden for the opening ceremony. There they elected Garvey President General of the UNIA. The conference produced one of the African America's major historical documents and Declaration of Rights of the Negroes Peoples of the World. The Declaration listed the major grievances of the race and put forward demands to redress them. It declared red, black, and green the colors of the race. Red, black, and green. Come on now. It adopted the universal Ethiopian anthem as the UNIA's anthem, and is called for the African history to be taught in schools attended by African children. The organization was divided into regions for better administration. A commissioner headed each region, and organizers systematically traversed their region, starting new branches. So you see this, man, they was just spreading everything, man. Like, this UNIA organization was a powerful organization, man, and they was just spreading truth, man. They was just spreading black nationalism and just pretty much saying the things that we need to do as a people, man. You feel me? The ideology of the UNIA spreads, and it talks about race first, self-reliance, nationhood. You know what I'm saying? The 3 planks of Garvey ideological platform. Race first meant the African people should put their self-interest first, as other races did. Garvey cheerfully allowed other groups a similar right as long as it did not lead to the oppression of anyone else. Race first also meant that African people must see physical beauty in themselves, and African people should critique their own literature. Garvey expressed these ideas by his most famous essay, African Fundamentalism, republished in the present author's book of the same title. The time has come from the Negro. Listen now. The time has come for the Negro to forget and cast behind him his hero worship and adoration of other races, and to start out immediately to create and emulate heroes of his own. We must CANONIZE our own saints, create our own models, and elevate to positions of fame and honor black men and women who have made their distinct contributions to our racial history. We must inspire a literature, a doctrine of our own without any apologies and the powers that be. The rights is ours and God's. Less contrary sentiment and cross opinions go to the winds. Race first could be seen in practically everything Garvey did, including his desire for independent African media and his contention in the tradition of Bishop Henry McNeill Turner that African people should have their own God, their own religions, their own images and likeness. Pretty much, if you're going to worship a God that look just like you. You understand what I'm saying? Make sure he look just like you. For you to praise or worship somebody that don't have the same skin color as you, it makes you feel like that your skin color is inferior, which is not. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're gonna put these religious figures or these biblical or these all these figures, they need to look just like you, not no white Jesus. All these white prophets and things like that, they need to look just like you. You understand what I'm saying? Of course, the UNIA had opposition. You know what I'm saying? Garvey's phenomenal success brought with an intense opposition from several desperate directions. Some felt eclipsed by his success. Others opposed his what he believed in. You understand what I'm saying? Imperialist governments resented his radicalizing impact on their African subjects. Hoover, later head of the FBI, J.F. Hoover, later head of the FBI, later head of the FBI, considered him a rabble-rouser and a fit candidate for deportation. You understand what I'm saying? So Marcus Garvey, man, was a great guy. We pretty much, man, know how his story ended. He was eventually deported from America. You understand what I'm saying? They deported him back to his country. He was a great dude, man. He believed in black nationalism. He believed in the black man and the black woman should have their own businesses and we don't need our own. He believed that we should put our race first. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what really matters, and that's what made him a great man, man. You understand? I salute to him. Double salute to Marcus Garvey. You understand what I'm saying? And we need to build what he was doing. We need to leave off where he left off at. And like I said, R.I.P. to Marcus Garvey. We know they deported him. We know they got rid of him. But look, man, we shall rise. We shall rise, and we shall rise again. You understand what I'm saying? And if you like what I'm saying, and if you listening today to what I'm saying, and you like it, subscribe to my channel at Promise Drew. Like, share, send it to where you got to send it to. And it's Black Excellence over here. And peace.